won again. Now what are they going to say?
It's another big night for the big man, Frank Bruno. It's chapter 4 of Bruno Mark II. After losing to Mike Tyson, Bruno took a rest from the ring for some 33 months. Since his comeback, he's bowled over John Emmon inside a round.
And this time a left hand, and I think that will put everything beyond any possible doubt.
Jose Ribalta went in 2.
That's a good right hand, and the man's right above me, and he's always coming out on top of me. And down goes Ribalta, and what are people going to say about that?
Pierre Kurtzer lasted a bit longer, into the 8th.
And the towel has come in from the South African corner. It's all over. They've pulled Kurtzer out of the fight. That's a pretty humane gesture.
Bruno's goal remains a 3rd, and he hopes successful bid for a world title.
Lennox Lewis, whether it be Tommy Morrison or George Foreman who's fighting for the WBO title, whoever, I'm ready and I'm on standby to fight any one of them, Harry.
The WBC, whose champion is Lennox Lewis, ranks Bruno 10. The WBA, whose title holder is Riddick Bowe, also sees Frank as number 10 challenger. And the IBF has him at number 6. Tonight's opponent for Bruno, Carl the Truth Williams, has spent his boxing career mixing in the highest company. He's met 5 world champions. In his last contest in January of this year, he twice knocked down the world-ranked Tommy Morrison.
And now suddenly, it is Tommy Morrison's future as a heavyweight contender that's on the line. Morrison lands a left hook, but Williams pounds away with the right. Second knockdown.
1-1 knockdown, and this fight is over.
Morrison, though, got up to stop Williams in the 8th round. Williams has respect for Bruno and appears not to be overawed.
Frank Bruno is not regarded any way as he is over here. Over here, he's like he's a god to some people. But in America, he's not even thought of as maybe a pretty good fighter.
At today's weigh-in, Williams was 15 stone, 10.5 pounds. Bruno was just under 16 stone 8, nearly a stone lighter than he was for his last fight. Of course, hanging on the result of this contest tonight, the multi-million-pound payday in September for Bruno against Lennox Lewis.
Frank, make sure you go out there, do the job, because I've got something riding on this. In September, when me and you meet, it's going to be a serious fight, and that's the truth.
Good evening from the NEC. We're all set for tonight's big fight, and our special guest tonight, a former world champion, featherweight champion once upon a time, Barry McGuigan. Nice to see you, Barry. You're looking very well. Now, what do you make of this contest tonight? Do you see it as another crash-bang-wallop win for Bruno?
Yeah, I feel sure that it will be a short fight because I think Bruno's really hyped up. He wants this big one in September, and there's talk about it being in September, so he'll want to win here and win impressively, and I feel sure he'll go out to try and get the job done early.
What do you think about this weight difference now? Because he was very heavy last time, wasn't he? For 17.5 stone,
yeah.
This time 16.5 approximately.
He's probably the only heavyweight I know that can look still in superb shape, a stone heavier. He's got that unique ability. He's got that type, muscular, athletic body type, and he can jump up in weight without having an effect on him. In fact, I thought, and probably was one of the only people who thought he didn't look good with that extra weight last year, or in his last fight. Yeah. But I think he'll win tonight and win early, provided he doesn't allow Williams to take the initiative and get off to a good start.
Because Williams is supposed to have a good jab, but of course Bruno's got that ramrod good jab as well.
Bruno's got heady hands, strong hitter, and Williams has got nice flowing movement and boxing ability if he's allowed to get into the fight. But he has appeared to be a bit fragile, and if Bruno tags him, the fight could be over. My opinion is the fight will be over in 9 minutes.
Okay, well, keep watching, because it could happen early, according to Barry McGuigan. Well, tonight's fight is sponsored by Mirror Group newspapers. Let's go ringside now and join Harry Carpenter.
And we have a packed house here at the National Exhibition Centre, and this crowd is excited, believe me. They're standing up, they're waiting for the arrival of the fighters. It's an occasion. And suddenly Bruno, who's never fought outside of London in this country before, Bruno is a hero in the Midlands, and they can't wait to see him come. The fighters are about to enter the arena. Williams will lead the way. Fanfare has raised the atmosphere even further as we look at the stars and stripes, and the music plays, and Williams will appear. Reaches the ring after that lengthy walk to the strains of the Star-Spangled Banner. Well, if you think that was emotional, and as far as American hopes were concerned, patriotic, just wait until you hear the music for Bruno and the reception that he's going to get from this huge crowd at the NEC in Birmingham, who are really hyped up for this fight, let alone the fighters. Here we go. Well, that was amazing. Bruno has never had a reception like this, not even in his own London. And I don't know how often I've ever heard a reception like this for any fighter. It's the equivalent of anything that Barry McGuigan used to get in Belfast, and those were some days, I can tell you. This is an astonishing occasion, and bringing the fight here to Birmingham has been an amazing success. And let's just hope that the fight lives up to the hype. tonight, sponsored by the Daily Mirror and Sunday Mirror. Here's our MC, Mike Goodall.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the NEC Arena Birmingham for tonight's main event, sponsored by the Daily Mirror and the Sunday Mirror newspapers. Ladies and gentlemen, National Promotions proudly present an international heavyweight contest of 10 3-minute rounds between introducing in the blue corner, wearing white trunks with the red trim, a professional record of 26 wins, 29 knockouts, and 6 losses from the United States of America, Carl Williams! And in the red corner, wearing the red, white, and blue trunks, with a record of 35 wins, 34 by KO, and 3 losses, the former undefeated European heavyweight champion, Frank Bruno! The weight of the shoulder box today, Williams scaled 15 stone 10.5 pounds, Bruno 16 stone 7.75 pounds. Your officials appointed by the British Boxing Board of Control for this contest, the steward in charge is leading Mr. Charles Charles, the timekeeper Mr. Brian Heaton of Sutton Coldfield, and the referee Mr. Dave Harris of London.
And so the moment has come, the moment of truth for Carl Williams. That's what he calls himself, the truth. And Frank Bruno, as you've heard, almost a stone lighter than he was against Coetzee last October, but still 11 pounds heavier than his opponent. But for one of the rare occasions in his life, Frank will be outreached in this contest by 3 inches. And I certainly agree with McGuigan. Bruno has to go in and take charge. Frank Bruno, with the blue stripe down his trunks. Very important for Bruno to be the governor early on, or if you prefer, as he said at the weigh-in, the master. And Williams was hanging on for dear life there until the referee came to part them, and then he knew he was safe. Well, Williams has had a few men over in his life, but he hasn't always kept them on the floor, and 1 or 2 of them have come back to beat him quite dramatically. He's been in with Tyson, just the same as Frank Bruno has. He's been in with Tim Witherspoon, the same as Frank. And Williams already looking distinctly uncomfortable inside. Bruno has trained as he's never trained before for this fight. I don't think I've ever seen him look fitter. The muscle definition is extraordinary. And mentally, he is absolutely prepared for this. And if he can get a clean shot on Williams' chin, anything could happen, because Williams is not known for taking a punch too well. And the big Bruno jabs are getting through already. Both of them breathing hard already. And Bruno knows that a multi-million-pound payday will go out of the window here if he loses this. This is the first leg of the spring double, with Bruno against this man, and then Lennox Lewis against Tony Tucker in Las Vegas on May the 8th. Lewis and Bruno both win, there's going to be an extraordinary meeting between them in the autumn. These two are so hyped up, I suspect, by all the emotion as they came to the ring, that they're taking time to settle in. Good body punches from Bruno. Williams shaking his head. Got a bump under the right eye already. Williams, it might be something that was there before he came into the ring, although I don't remember seeing it. over to the top of Williams' head. He's under extreme pressure in his own corner. Well, that was a pretty hectic opening 3 minutes. There wasn't too much cool boxing about it, but it was vivid stuff. And Bruno really went to work early there, determined to impress himself on the other man, and I'm quite sure that's what George Francis said he had to do. He's got to be the governor from the word go. He mustn't let the other man get confident. So these are the vital figures for Bruno. Just the 3 defeats, one from Bone Crusher Smith early on, and the other 2 in those 2 world title fights with Witherspoon and Tyson. George Francis with the glasses in front of him. Some of the action from the first round. That was a good overhand right there from Bruno. And for a moment, Williams looked in real trouble. And both these men still breathing hard as they come out to the second. First round took quite a bit out of them. 7 o'clock tonight, I was watching Carl Williams eating a bowl of spaghetti in the public restaurant of the nearby hotel where he was staying. First time I've ever seen a fighter on the eve of a big fight eating in a public restaurant. 3 hours before he was due in the ring. Bruno going to work again, and they've tumbled over, falling over each other's feet. These 2 are so worked up, they can't really have a considered fight. This is cobblestone stuff. Frank has calmed down a good bit. That's a good left hook. And Williams makes a face at him and says, "You ain't hurt me yet." There's some lethal stuff flying about in there. This might be a very dramatic ending one way or the other. Dave Paris, the referee. The action has quietened down a little bit. They went off at such a pace it had to. Bruno having to stretch a bit to get at him, outreached. You haven't seen a more aggressive Bruno than this. And he's trying to get the man on the floor, and Williams won't go. But he's open-mouthed and he's breathing very hard again, Williams. I haven't seen Bruno hit to the body so well as this. He really is putting it all together. And this NEC in Birmingham is ringing with excitement. Coming to the end of the second. And we go back to the corner with 33-year-old Carl "The Truth" Williams from White Plains, New York. An inch taller than Frank Bruno. And these are his figures. He's a little lighter than he was for his last fight when he was beaten by Tommy Morrison in January in Reno. He weighed 16 stone 1 then, and now he's, 5 pounds lighter. But a big man, 6'4", and this long reach, 85 inches. Francis working on Frank Bruno. Bruno's trained for 6 weeks. About half an hour's journey north of here in Leicestershire at a health farm, his favourite training place. Never been fitter. But he's in a tough fight, and he knows it now.
Seconds up. Round 3.
Well, I don't think Bruno ever had any misunderstandings about this fight. He knew that the man was lively and a good mover and a good jabber. And he must not let Williams get confident. He'll be looking to bring him onto the big right hand if he can. Frank's having to take a few punches himself to get in. Backing up. Williams' jab beginning to flick into the face of Bruno, teasing him, worrying him. And Bruno is having to take punches as he moves inside, both lefts and rights. At this moment, I think, to predict just what's going to happen here. And there's a cut on Bruno's face, on the left-hand side, on the cheek. Bruno is cut underneath the left eye. It's not in a dangerous place, but the cheekbone is cut, or at least the skin on it. I'm not too sure if he's not cut above the eye. It's difficult to see with the water that's on him. He's certainly got a cut under the left eye. Williams' head rubs up against that cut in the clinch, though Paris is having a look at the eye. And Frank is most definitely disturbed. He knows the eye's cut. It's disturbed his concentration. And if ever he needed a big punch, he needs it right now. He's getting caught himself. Carl Williams suddenly looks a different fighter. There's quite a bit of blood running down the face of Bruno. I think it's possible he's cut above as well. So these are the most vital moments in Bruno's career since the fight with Tyson. He walks back to the corner a little slowly. Now let's see what they work on. Is he cut above as well as underneath? Yes, he is. So that's a double cut he's got, but the dangerous one is the one that George is working on now, the one above. Because from there the blood will trickle into the eye and will hamper his vision. I wonder if we can have a quick word with Barry McGuigan. What do you feel about it, Barry?
Well, Harry, he started off very well, very positively, pushed Williams back, didn't allow him to get into his stride. Now, unfortunately, he's been cut. It's a bit of a setback, but George Francis is an excellent cornerman. They just motivate him, cool him down, and let him get back into the fight again. Williams hasn't done anything positive apart from cut him, and he can't allow Williams to get into this fight because this could be the turning point.
Fourth round. A lot now depends on the confidence that's in Frank, whether he can overcome the disturbance that's being caused by the cut, the mental worry of it. Can he get settled back into this fight now and throw some good punches? He's up against his long reach and this useful jab of Carl Williams, a man who's fighting here to preserve his own career. Because if he loses this, then there's not too much future for him. That's a good left from Bruno, and he's through again. Definite swelling appearing at the side of Williams' left eye. Quite a bad swelling coming up there. This is a hard fight. Well, Frank never had any illusions about the difficulties of this. Williams backing off now, not quite so eager to come in. And Bruno very much on top again here in the fourth round. Williams is a strange fighter. He gets on top at certain times in fights and then seems to lose control. He's done that in several fights. His left eye is swelling very quickly. And Bruno will see that, and that will restore a lot of confidence. And this crowd trying to raise him. Good combination inside. Again, Williams shakes his head. George Francis has certainly done a good job on that eye. Not a sign of blood there. Thundering punches, I could hear him right underneath. What a noise they made as they thumped into the body of Williams. And the fourth comes to the end of what's proving to be the most torrid fight that Frank Bruno has had since the one with Tyson in Las Vegas 4 years ago. George Francis still working on the eye, but it hasn't worsened, which is the most important thing from Bruno's point of view. Bruno is very much on top in this fourth round, and that's just one example of what he was doing to Williams, who didn't know where to go there. No idea how to keep him out. And all the time, the other man's eye is worsening. So these two men who've only been boxing for 12 minutes have really done quite a bit of damage to each other. Bruno with the blue stripe down his trunks. 2 years younger than the American. Williams seems to have regained a bit of confidence. Some tape working loose from his left glove. Again, the shake of the head. What it means is that Bruno hasn't yet quite connected in the right place with the right punch. Williams now saying something to him. Bruno at times beating him to the jab. There's the attention to that piece of loose tape. Dave Paris probably wants it cut. And it's torn away. On we go. And Bruno taking a very deep breath indeed in the neutral corner. There's no doubt about this being a genuine heavyweight battle with everything at stake. Wow. go, Williams. Hold it. Let it go. Right. Come on. There were moments in the Pierre Couture fight when Frank Bruno was looking as though it was all getting a bit tough for him, but he came through it brilliantly in the end. We'll get cautioned about that, one on the break. That's a good fight. He's hurt his man again. The fifth. And the bell comes not a moment too early for Carl Williams, who's been through it before in the ring. But I imagine that Barry McGuigan will be feeling that this isn't quite as easy a job as perhaps he imagined.
Well, I thought that, Harry, I thought that if Bruno had gone out there and bulldozed him and hit him with some of those good punches, the fight would have been over by now. But I didn't realise, I didn't give him the respect, Williams, that he deserves. He's got some lovely moves. He's making Bruno very ordinary looking with those upper body movements. And he's at this stage in the fight, Bruno has got to be very careful because we haven't seen much from Williams, and maybe he saved a bit for the late rounds.
Right. Thank you, Barry. So we're coming up to the sixth of a really tough heavyweight fight. Lumps and bumps on the pair of them.
10 seconds. Second out. Round 6.
Williams up on his toes. Starts confidently in every round. Frank standing his ground, much more flat-footed. Trying to find the big one. Mike Tyson stopped this man, Williams, in 93 seconds, but Williams has always said it was stopped far too early. In only Williams' 17th pro fight, they put him in for a version of the world title with Larry Holmes, and he gave a very good account of himself in that fight too, many years ago. Frank's got him a couple of left hooks. Sixth. But Bruno's having to work hard for every success. And always that taunting left hand is there to dissuade him. Again, Williams turns, looks at his corner, shakes his head. I'm all right, he says. They've managed to work that swelling down a bit with the end swell. Bruno's eyes bleeding. Williams won't have it, but he's hurt. Frank needs plenty of those good solid lefts, and if he can cross the right occasionally and find the head, he's got to stay on top somehow. Otherwise all the plans are destroyed here in Birmingham tonight. Bruno miss. It's a long way from over yet. And a bit of bad feeling between the pair of them as they separate at the end of the sixth. The eye has started to bleed again, above the left eye. But you couldn't have a better man in the corner than George Francis, who many years ago used to work with John Conte in Conte's world title days.
Twist whacking again. You keep your hands up. Don't take no notice of that body. Good left hand, double left hand, left hook right cross, okay? Hold that service, John.
That was a good, solid left jab from Bruno, and he followed up well too. He was quick to get in. But there were moments when he was in a bit of trouble himself from the left jab. And occasionally Williams throws big right hands which look very ominous. So here we are into the 7th, only 4 rounds to go, and it's been action all the way. Well, there won't be a correspondent in the world who will say that Bruno hasn't had a real test tonight. And he hasn't won it yet. I don't know what Williams was looking at the referee for. I think he was trying to plead that he was hit on the break, but I don't think Dave Paris had said break. Williams' head again, always on that side where the cut is when they come together. That's a low one from Frank, but Mr. Paris was unsighted. The swelling under the left eye of Williams, a little more pronounced now than it was. Signs that Williams might be slowing down. He hasn't thrown too much in this round. Very negative. This is quite a good round for Bruno. He's done most of the work. Basically, I think because Williams is laid off, he seems to have slowed right down in this round. Whether he's taking a breather and saving himself for the close, I don't know, but he certainly hasn't thrown too much. And it's given Frank Bruno a chance to assert himself again. Now some tape on the other glove of Williams is working loose. Williams has slowed right down. Not up on his toes now. That was interesting. What do you make of that, Barry? It looked as though Williams was having a real breather there, or maybe he's getting very tired.
I think he's beginning to feel the pace, Harry. Those early body punches from Bruno have certainly taken their toll on him. He slowed right down, and I feel sure that if a concerted effort from Bruno can stop this guy at this stage.
Well, for British boxing's sake, let's hope you're right. Anyway, there are 3 rounds still to go of a hard fight. At times, more of a brawl than a fight, particularly in the opening stages. I do think the two men were very visibly affected by the emotional reception they had. And I've never seen such a dramatic entrance of fighters as those flags parted and the two men stood up there like gods above the crowd.
Almost 10 seconds.
So, here we go with the 8th.
Round 8.
Bruno on the right. I thought Frank might have come straight out here. and gone full pelt for him, but he hasn't. He's waiting. But he's roughing Williams up inside again. And still Williams makes these faces at him. But he's not winning anything like that. That was some left hook from Williams, and something, I don't know if it was a gumshoe, but something flew out across the ropes, something white. Could only surely have been a gumshoe, and presumably Frank's. I don't think it can be the gumshoe. I think Frank's still got his gumshoe in. I don't know what it was. Might have been tape off the glove or something, but in goes Bruno again, trying to bring this to a finish. And the man from America continues to taunt him. Well, Frank Bruno hasn't had many harder fights than this. Trouble. Left eye shutting, badly hurt now. Still shaking his head in defiance. But that very nearly drew the curtains on Carl Williams, and he's hurt again. And Dave Paris is warning Frank Bruno about use of the elbow. He elbowed him into the ropes. And that was a similar sort of thing to what he was doing in the fight with Pierre Coetzee. He was quite prepared to use rough tactics. Clubbing great right hands from Bruno, and he still can't put the man on the floor. Desperate punches being flung by Williams, but still defiant. Round 8. Still 2 more to come. And Paris has to fling them apart as the bell ends. But here is a very tired and desperate looking man. They're working hard to try to bring him round. He's not quite with us now. And Frank Bruno breathing a little more comfortably perhaps, and beginning to think to himself, have I finally overcome this man? There were some rough old moments in that round. Williams took a lot of clubbing punches to the head, as well as one very, very illegal elbow. That was it. Well, you can't get more blatant than that, and that won't win Frank any friends. Don't need to do that.
Second up, round 9.
And Williams was off his stool very early indeed. Maybe a little psychological ploy to try to convince Frank Bruno that he's not that badly hurt, but he looked pretty bad when he went back to the corner. 2 rounds to go. Well, these are the moments when Frank Bruno needs to be very, very careful indeed. It's a long, long time ago, but I haven't forgot what happened to him with Bone Crusher Smith when he had the fight won and then threw it away.
Fight!
Very little coming from Williams, backing up, flicking out the odd left. Nothing dangerous looking at the moment, but he might be dangerous with a desperate right hand. Frank needs to stay right on top now. Needs another attack or two like he had in the last round, just to keep the man under control. And yet again, for the third time in this fight, Taker's broke loose, twice on the gloves of the American and now on Bruno's left glove. It's the water that does it, the constant splashing of water during the intervals. It wears the adhesive away. And George Francis making a long job of putting more adhesive tape round, and so they're both getting a good breather. It's the 9th round of a 10-rounder. Williams should be in a neutral corner, but he isn't. Crowd absolutely willing Frank Bruno to finish it. And now Frank's caution about pulling his man round the back of the neck. Two good jabs into the face of this 33-year-old American. But at no time has Williams been on the floor. Looking right uppercut from Williams. He's not beaten yet. There's a bit left. And the last two punches delivered by Frank Bruno. 1 round to go. Good time for Barry McGuigan to sum up for us.
Well, Harry, Frank has this one in the bag. He just needs to keep his composure, hold it together. If he could put a bit of pressure on this guy and just make a concerted effort, I really feel that he could win this fight inside the next 3 minutes. But I don't know whether he has enough left. He's tired, he's blowing hard. I mean, Williams seems to be all out.
Yep, he seemed to be all out for a couple of rounds now, but he's a gutsy fighter and he's keeping going.
He sure is.
Yep. So it's turned out to be a very, very tough fight indeed for these two men. And they'll both be feeling the effects of this for a few days yet, as we move up to the final 3 minutes.
10 seconds.
And here we go, the last 3 minutes between Carl the Truth Williams and Frank Bruno, the man with the blue stripe down his trunks. And it's an amazing fact about Bruno's career that only one fight of his has ever gone the full distance, and that was back in November 1984, a 10-rounder against a man called Phil Brown, and he's got him! Just as I'm talking about a fight going the distance, he pulls the big punch out for the first time. He puts the man on the floor, and Dave Farris has seen enough and stops the fight in the closing round. The Americans don't like it. They're not going to like it. But you can take it from me that he was only going to walk back into more bad punishment. Bruno takes the cheers of the crowd in one of the hardest fights he's ever had. And he's come through it with a stoppage win in the final round. The Americans won't quite agree with that. But I think the referee did the right thing. He only just beat the count, and he was going to walk into more heavy punishment. And you can't be too careful these days. So, what a moment that was. Here it is. That was the one. It came chopping down from on high. Extraordinary punch, almost like a man wielding an axe. It seemed to go right down the side of the American's jawline. He beat the count. I didn't think at one point he was going to beat it. But now it's all over. And Bruno is the winner. And his wife Laura is coming into the ring, and she'll be the most relieved person here. Let's look at that again. Extraordinary. It caught him up above the ear. Now, isn't that interesting? High up on the head. And Frank poses with Laura, and she'll be the most relieved person here. She will not have enjoyed any of that, and I don't blame her. That was one tough fight, and the whole of Britain will be relieved that their man Bruno has come through it safely. And the fight with Lennox Lewis, providing Lewis beats Tucker, we assume will be on for later in the year. And now it's the turn of the loser to take the cheers of the crowd. There was a courageous fighter.
Tom Williams in no position to defend himself. The winner, Frank Bruno!
And Bruno all smiles now as he takes the applause from some 8,000 people here at the NEC. Well, the way they've received him up here, he might never fight in London again. He has had one tremendous reception from the Midlands. And now the applause for the loser on a very emotional and exciting night. Frank Bruno saying a few words, but I think he's thanking the people of the Midlands for the reception he got tonight. Well, in a few minutes, we'll hope to have him at close quarters and hear what his version was of that extraordinary battle.
Thanks, Harry. Well, Bruno's fans will be absolutely delighted, of course, and I should think his bank manager will be delirious because, of course, now all things lead to the big showdown against Lennox Lewis in September time. But Barry McGuigan, the point at issue here really was that Carl Williams is not a Lennox Lewis. Did we see a Bruno tonight that you think could beat Lennox Lewis in September?
In my opinion, Lewis is a different league than Frank. With all fairness to Frank, he's a strong and a heavy puncher, but he's limited and he's not in the same class as Lewis. Lewis is too good for my faith.
The point, though, is that if Frank catches up with you with those big punches...
Absolutely, you're absolutely correct. He's got a puncher's chance with anybody, but I just feel that Lewis is probably the best heavyweight on the planet at the moment.
The question mark about Lennox Lewis, of course, is that nobody's really caught him on the button, as they say.
Well, and that's what all the pundits are saying.
If Frank were to do that, how would he stand up to it, I wonder? That's the great dilemma, the great question,
that we've got to see answered.
You thought it was going to be a quick finish. I must admit I did, for what it's worth, and it didn't happen that way, but he did catch up with him in the end. What did you think of, well, let's look, here it is again. What did you think of the punch that finally caught up with him?
It was a tremendous punch, and it hit him actually as he bent back, he leaned back, and he hit him with a right hand on the side of the temple, and really that was enough to finish. Dave Paris done absolutely the right thing in stopping the fight, because Williams was all out.
Yeah, he was a little unhappy about it, Williams, or so it seemed, but I suppose it's part of the fighter's trade to protest and want to...
He's a courageous guy, and sometimes fighters have to be protected from themselves, and I thought the referee was absolutely correct in stopping the fight.
Thanks for the moment, Barry. Now we can hear from Big Frank himself with Harry.
Well, Frank Bruno is sitting right here with me, and all the crowd's gathering around us. Frank, congratulations, first of all. That was some hard fight.
Yeah, they're getting harder, Harry. You know, I mean, people say 5 rounds, but he's a very experienced pro, as you said this afternoon, 2 world titles, and he's very experienced. Some people say he could take a punch, but if he can't take the punch, I wouldn't like to see someone that can take a punch.
You got into a bit of trouble early on with the eye. Did that worry you a lot at the time?
Not really, because I got experienced cornering George Francis and John Bloomfield, and they told me not to wipe the eye, not worry about the eye. And he had a good jab, Harry. You couldn't take that away from him, and good sharp right hands. He come here to fight. He was the lightest he's ever been, and if you can talk to him, he came to fight. And I needed this sort of fight before I go in with Lennox Lewis. May not have been the sharpest I would like to be, Harry, but sometimes I'm not knocking him over in 1 and 2 rounds. I'm getting the experience under my belt, the gum shield, and I'm getting sharper. I'd like to say a special hello to everybody in Springs, and thank you very much for looking after me. Bernadette, Richard and Darren and John Boy and Black and Decker. Everybody, thank you very much.
You always said in this fight that it was never going to be easy. You had respect for the guy. You knew he was a good mover. He had a good left hook, you told me.
Yeah.
And he proved all of that, didn't
Very
he?
much so. Mickey Duff had that percentage in him. So, you know, I mean, if he would have won, he would have gone on to fight Lennox Lewis. All I can say, Harry, he's not hurt, I'm not hurt, and I thank God that everything's all right, and I fight to live another day.
But you were delighted to get rid of him in the 10th round. That was a good right hand.
Because, like, he had a wicked jab, good jab. Not the most powerfulest jab, but he was stinging, and he's a nice mover, you know? And sometimes I'm a little bit clumsy going in, but this is my full fight now after 3 years out of the ring, and my first fight was a 1 round, 2 round. The second round was a 3 or 2 rounds, and the next one was 8 rounds, and this one was a 10 round. So I couldn't ask for no more than that, Harry. Yes, I got cut a little bit, but I can fight to live another day, Harry. And I can look forward to Lennox Lewis beating
Tony Tucker,
and look for a roadblock fight in September, hopefully.
Riddick Bowe.
Roadblock. Yeah, roadblock.
Listen, I said in the commentary, I thought it was one of the hardest fights you've ever had.
Yes, Harry.
Would you agree with that?
Yes, I would say so, because the guy was loose. I was trying to knock him out from the first bell instead of staying loose and fighting my way through. But Harry, I got experience tonight. Yes, I got a little bit of a cut, but it's the first serious cut in 39 fights. That can't be bad, Harry. Can't be bad, if you know what I mean, Harry.
I thought for a moment you were going to have your second full distance fight. You once had one with Phil Brown, the only time you've ever been the distance, and it looked as though it was going to happen again, and then suddenly you produced it.
Put him over the top, yeah, Harry.
Well done, Frank.
Thank you very much.
Love to Laura. I saw her there. She was relieved.
And Rachel watching at home, and Christiane and Claire Monk, who's at home, you know what I mean? Hello, Laura, darling, and hello, Nicola and Rachel. I love you very much. I'll be coming home soon, darling. Take it easy, and you can have the water now and say, Bruno!
Well done, Frank. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Harry. Nice one. Cheers.
I guess we've got to leave those two because they'll go on talking all night, I shouldn't wonder. Are you really looking, as a fight connoisseur and a great fighter yourself, are you looking forward to Bruno Lennox Lewis?
Oh, for sure. I'm sure everybody in the country is looking forward to it. It's a marvellous fight coming through, and I'm very much looking forward to it. I think that Bruno did labour tonight in the middle rounds against an opponent that we didn't really give credit to, and then he pulled it out at the end, and the fact is the record books will always say he won by a KO.
Absolutely, and Lennox has still got to do the business.
Absolutely, yes.
Anyway, Frank's on his route for a third world title tilt. I hope you've enjoyed it, and of course this is how he did it. Good night.
And here we go, the last 3 minutes between Carl the Truth Williams and Frank Bruno, the man with the blue stripe down his trunks. And it's an amazing fact about Bruno's career that only one fight of his has ever gone the full distance, and that was back in November 1984, a 10-rounder against a man called Phil Brown, and he's got him! Just as I'm talking about a fight going the distance, he pulls the big punch out for the first time. He puts the man on the floor, and Dave Farris has seen enough and stops the fight in the closing round. The Americans don't like it. They're not going to like it. But you can take it from me that he was only going to walk back into more bad punishment.